Congratulations, you have already set the entire continuous integration, continuous delivery flow here in App Center for both your iOS and your Android applications. That means that the next time that we merge into master, a new build is going to be released over to both the App Store and the Play Store. So that is exactly what we're going to see in this lecture. Now we're going to be generating a new pull request to merge into master. However, you might remember how the code or the application that I uploaded directly to the App Store and the Play Store, the one that was needed for us to connect App Center to those stores, already contained all of my code. So what I will do as soon as I create the pull request is make a small tweak directly from the other GitHub account that I have, so we can see the process from here. So over on GitHub, the original GitHub account, I am going to create a pull request first from feature 9 into dev. So feature 9 is, in my case, the branch that I created that added the entire functionality. As you know, throughout the entire course, the functionality of our application was, well, very limited, but I had to add the functionality so it was actually published to the stores. So that was added through feature 9. So that's why I'm starting right here. You would do something very similar in your application. So I will simply create the pull request. And in the case of dev, to make this a little bit quicker, I'm not really going to be waiting for the builds. I am just going to be merging into the dev branch. Now we know that normally the checks would have to pass, but since my application has been published in this case, I can be pretty certain that they would pass. So far already the code is on the dev branch. So in fact, I can delete feature 9 branch. The next step, as we know, would be to merge or create a pull request for dev to be merged into test. So I will go ahead and create this pull request. Now in this case, again, I probably should wait for these builds, especially because the test branch has these protections in place. But taking advantage of the fact that I am the administrator in here, I'm also going to merge. Again, please don't normally do this. This is just because I know that my application works, and in fact, we've seen this happen before. Normally, you don't want to merge like this. So, all right, we have all of these ready on the test branch. Now, what I want to do is, of course, merge into master. But for that, I am going to navigate over to the other GitHub account. Remember that this account also has access to that repository. And what this GitHub account is going to do is create the pull request from test into master. So from test into master, create the pull request. And in the case of this GitHub account, they will need to wait for a couple of things. First, these tests or these checks have to pass, but also there is one approving review necessary. So indeed, I cannot merge this pull request. This means, of course, that in this case, I will have to wait for those checks to pass. And we know that those can be displayed over an App Center. So if I navigate to either of the applications, over to build and into master, I see that there is one build that was queued. I'm actually going to go ahead and cancel this build that is right here, because what I want to show you is how I said that the build is going to be triggered over on the master branch. And because I am on a free version, I can only have one build at a time, so I will just cancel the one on test that we have seen work before, and I'm going to do it on both of my applications. So I will also come to the iOS application and cancel this build. This way, the actual builds that I'm interested on, the ones happening on master, will hopefully happen a little bit faster. So let's meanwhile navigate over to GitHub for my other GitHub account and wait for those checks to pass, wait for the approving review, which I can actually do at any time. so we can eventually merge into master. So let's actually go ahead and do that. While these checks pass, I can navigate over to my original GitHub account and reload the pull requests, where I can add that required approving review. So I will go over to Files Changed, select Review Changes, and select Approve. Click on Submit Review, and we are navigated back over to Conversation, where, as administrators, we could already merge, but we're going to wait in this case. I am going to only be performing the merge once the builds over on App Center have finished for the master branch. As you can see, they are already building. And I'm going to do it directly from this other GitHub account, where I can see indeed that I cannot merge until these checks pass. Although I already see the approving review in here, I am still waiting for these two checks. Eventually, I will see something like this, that all of the checks have passed. And since there is already an approving review, even this other GitHub account can merge into master. So let's go ahead and do that. As soon as we confirm the merge now into master, that build for master is going to be triggered. And we know that as soon as that build is ready, the one that we can see right here, that by the way, notice that was performed by another account from GitHub. As soon as this build is ready, it is going to trigger a new continuous delivery process into the stores. So let's just wait for these builds to finish on both applications and see how is it that that new release is going to be sent over to Google and Apple for they to eventually decide whether or not the application should be published. Eventually, we will have success. Here you can see the build for my master branch. That means that the build was successful, of course, but also that a new release should be ready. So if we navigate over to Distribute and over to Releases, we now see a second release. But the great thing is that this is going directly to the App Store. In fact, if we navigate over to the Stores tab, we see that the production already has this new release. Currently, it is being processed. Of course, as you remember, every time that we upload a new IPA, which is exactly what is happening right here, Apple has to process it and eventually release it, but now it is all up to Apple. We, as developers, have already automated the entire process. It ended with us really merging into master, and everything else, continuous integration and continuous delivery, is already happening through App Center. The same thing is going to be true for Android. If we navigate over to Android and over to build, we see that the master branch has also already successfully been built. As we've seen with iOS, if we navigate now to Distribute and over to Releases, we see this new release. But of course, this is now over on production. And if we navigate over to Stores, we see that production indeed has this new release. And it has already been submitted to Google. So there you have it. Everything is of course now up to Apple and Google to make sure that your application can be published to the stores. But as a developer, all you did really was just push everything over to GitHub. Make sure that everything built through continuous integration, merge into master right here from the pull request, and then App Center, thanks to the setup that you've already performed, did everything by itself. Executed the build, and as soon as that build was ready, it uploaded the APK in the case of Android or the IPA in the case of iOS over to the corresponding store, so a new release has been created. It may have taken a while to have all of this ready, but now every single time that you have a new feature available ready to be deployed to your users, you can merge into test and deploy to your beta testers. And as soon as they say that it is ready, merge into master and deploy it over to the stores. This is continuous integration and continuous delivery.